Episode 30, titled Enforce FIPS-Validated Cryptography, we commit to cryptography that stands on verifiable ground rather than marketing claims or hopeful defaults. Federal Information Processing Standards, FIPS validation, is not a vibe. It is an objective statement that a specific cryptographic module at a specific version and configuration was tested and approved. The promise is simple. When you use validated modules correctly, you reduce ambiguity, pass audits with less friction, and, most importantly, keep protections aligned with well-understood assurance levels. This is where discipline pays off. Choose validated components, configure them to approved modes, and keep proof close at hand so that anyone can trace the decision chain without guesswork. Validation, at its core, is about scope and specificity. A cryptographic module undergoes review, and the result is a certificate that names the product, version, operating environments, and approved algorithms and modes. That certificate does not transfer magically to forks, wrappers, or later versions. It anchors to what was tested. Documented modes matter because many libraries can run in non-approved configurations unless told otherwise, and a single stray option can push operation outside validated boundaries. Treat the certificate like a contract. It defines what you can rely on and what you must avoid. When teams internalize this, they stop saying, "the vendor says it's compliant," and start asking, "which certificate, which mode, which build?" The practical journey begins with an inventory of cryptographic functions across data at rest and data in transit. Map where encryption, hashing, signing, and key exchange occur in databases, file systems, message queues, object stores, application gateways, web servers, service meshes, mobile apps, and client libraries. Include less obvious spots such as disk encryption agents, backup tools, tokenization services, and logging pipelines that redact or encrypt fields. For each function, record the library in use, the version, the calling application or service, and the configuration source that governs algorithms and modes. By naming every cryptographic touchpoint, you transform invisible risk into a list of concrete places where validated modules and approved settings must be enforced. Transport protections earn their own pass because misconfigured transport layer security, TLS, remains a common weak link. Configure servers and clients to use approved protocol versions and ciphers. Disable legacy options that allow downgrade, and prefer ephemeral key exchange that provides forward secrecy within approved curves and groups. Certificate validation must be strict. Verify issuer, hostname, expiration, and revocation behavior that fails closed rather than silent. Options such as session tickets, renegotiation, and compression require scrutiny because they affect key handling and attack surface. Keep only what is necessary and approved. When platforms offer modern presets, compare them to your approved profile and pin the configuration so drift cannot reintroduce disallowed suites. Deploy validated libraries deliberately and eliminate non-validated fallbacks that appear through convenience or transitive dependencies. Languages and frameworks often wrap multiple crypto backends. Ensure the wrapper selects the validated backend in approved mode and does not silently substitute a different engine when a feature is missing. Container images and serverless layers should carry the exact validated versions, and build systems must lock them to prevent accidental upgrades that outrun validation scope. If a required feature exists only in a non-validated path, escalate the design decision rather than slipping in an exception. Often, the right answer is to change the pattern, not the bar. The goal is a world where crypto means validated crypto by default, not by exception. Keys are where cryptography meets accountability, so define key sizes, lifetimes, rotation, and storage protections with precision. Use approved key lengths and curves that match validation scope, and document lifetimes appropriate to risk, balancing performance with exposure from long-lived material. Rotation must be real, not ceremonial. Record how keys are replaced, how old keys are retired, and how data or sessions migrate safely. Storage protections should rely on secure containers, preferably hardware security modules, HSMs, or equivalent controls in cloud services that prevent extraction, enforce usage policies, and produce auditable events. Backups of keys must be encrypted with equal or stronger protections, and all handling steps should leave a trail that a reviewer can replay without heroic forensics. Managed key services, when selected well, help enforce separation of duties that individual teams struggle to sustain. A central key management service, KMS, or HSM-backed system should control generation, storage, and use, while application teams consume keys through scoped progressions and narrowly defined operations. Separation of duties means no single person can both define policy and exercise unrestricted key use. And it means operations that change key state require multi-party approval with recorded justifications. Integrate key services with incident response so that suspected compromise can trigger rapid revocation and reissuance without manual phishing expeditions. Managed well, these services reduce variance, increase auditability, and keep cryptographic material from scattering across the environment. Beware the classic trap: vendor claims without certificate references or mode details. Phrases like FIPS capable, FIPS ready, or built with FIPS algorithms do not answer the only questions that matter: which module, which certificate number, which version, which operating environment, and which approved modes are in use today. Require pointers to the exact certificate identifiers and ensure deployment matches the tested conditions. If a component is under validation, treat it as non-validated until the certificate posts and your build aligns to it. This posture is not adversarial. It is due diligence that keeps your risk assessment honest. A rapid program gain is to maintain a module list with certificate identifiers front and center. List each cryptographic function, the module that fulfills it, the certificate number, the approved algorithms and modes you rely on, and the specific versions in production. Add the operating environments from the certificate operating system and architecture so platform changes do not silently slip you out of scope. Keep that list under change control and reference it in the system security plan and in the control summary table so that evidence chains start with one crisp source. When an assessor asks, "Show me your validated modules," you answer with a single artifact rather than a scavenger hunt. Consider a pragmatic scenario. You must replace a deprecated cipher across external interfaces without breaking compatibility or performance. Start by identifying every endpoint offering the cipher and the client populations that connect. Stage configuration changes in non-production with traffic patterns that mimic reality. Then enable approved ciphers and disable the deprecated one, measuring handshake success, latency, and CPU overhead. If specific partners require transition time, implement temporary dual-stack endpoints with clear timelines and communication, but keep default paths locked to approved suites. After production cutover, monitor error rates and renegotiation attempts, and confirm logs reflect the new cipher choices. The end state is not just no deprecated cipher, but approved cipher, verified performance, and recorded proof. To make the program defensible, capture configuration exports, validation references, and monitoring procedures in a tidy evidence pack. Configuration exports should show exact TLS settings, module selections, key policies, and version locks with dates and change request numbers. Validation references should point to the certificates for every module in use, with notes on approved modes and any caveats that affect your deployment. Monitoring procedures must describe what you track: cipher usage, protocol versions, failed handshakes, key management events, and how alerts route to responders who can act. Evidence that sits next to the configuration it describes shortens every review and turns "trust us" into "see here." A quick operational check keeps the posture honest and visible. Modules validated, keys rotated, TLS hardened. Modules validated means your running binaries match the certificate scope and approved modes. Keys rotated means recent events prove lifecycle discipline. TLS hardened means traffic actually uses the protocols and ciphers you claim. Turn that check into a dashboard or periodic report with dates, counts, and exceptions, and make owners accountable for closing gaps. When leaders can see these three signals at a glance, cryptography stops being an opaque specialty and becomes a measurable control like any other. A sticky idea helps teams remember the rhythm without dragging a binder to every meeting. Validate, configure, rotate, and document cryptography. Validate the modules and keep the certificate identifiers handy. Configure systems to approved protocols, ciphers, modes, and key usages. Rotate keys and secrets on a schedule that matches risk and record the proof. Document everything where auditors and engineers can find it without delay. This sequence scales across teams because it is short, actionable, and hard to misinterpret under stress. To close, enforcement is real when validated modules are selected deliberately. Configurations pin systems to approved modes. Ps are governed by policy and separated duties. Evidence is captured as part of normal work, and monitoring shows that traffic and operations match the plan. The immediate next action is crisp and time-bounded. Audit the modules in use today against their certificate identifiers and approved modes. Record any mismatches with owners and dates, and schedule the configuration changes required to bring every cryptographic touchpoint into validated scope. When this loop repeats, cryptography becomes predictable, provable, and proportionate to risk, exactly the standard a resilient program demands. Thanks for listening. For more audio courses, daily newsletters, and more, please visit baremetalcyber.com.